The following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the TFNG coming to you with a review of the Transformers Generations War for Cybertron Trilogy Kingdom Deluxe Class Autobot Tracks. Now, there's been quite a few gems in the Transformers Kingdom line, and a lot of collectors have said the Kingdom line has been the most successful of the three Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy lines, and overall the War for Cybertron Trilogy has been quite a tremendous, has produced quite a few amazing and fantastic Transformers action figures, and there was a lot of hype for Kingdom Tracks when he was announced because it's now the year 2021, and the last action figure of Tracks that we got was released in the Transformers Reveal the Shield line way back in 2011. So it's literally been a whole decade since we got our last action figure of the character of Autobot Tracks. So there's a lot of hype for Kingdom Tracks after he was announced, and when collectors started to get a hold of Kingdom Tracks and he was finally released, unfortunately, Kingdom Tracks has unfortunately been considered a dud in the Kingdom line. Tracks is tied with Voyager-class Rhinox in arguably being the worst Transformers action figure to be released in the Transformers Kingdom line, and this is due to the fact that the way Tracks transforms from his robot mode to his vehicle mode, the middle section of his hood and the two front fenders of his vehicle mode don't tab into place together. And those plastic panels are made out of clear plastic that's been painted blue. And so some people have actually broken their Tracks figures while transforming them. So yeah, because of all the hype and the fact that it's literally been a decade since the previous Tracks figure was released, Transformers fans and collectors were utterly disappointed when it was discovered that Tracks didn't fully transform correctly, and the pieces of him that didn't transform correctly were made out of clear plastic, which meant trying to force them into place, you put at risk of breaking your action figure. I don't know if more recent releases of Tracks X have had the transformation joints on him fixed so he can transform more easily, because Tracks has been released multiple times, but yeah, Tracks has been shelf warming at the Target stores where I live. So yeah, Tracks has been considered arguably the biggest disappointment of the Transformers Kingdom line, even more so than Rhinox has been. So here's Tracks in his box. I haven't opened him out yet. Here's the artwork of his vehicle mode. And before we get to that, here's the poster image of the Kingdom line. Here he is on the back of his box. And just like the Generation 1 version of Tracks, he is technically a triple changer. In addition to his robot mode and his sports car mode, he also has a flying car mode, which the designers on the Generation 1 action figure of Tracks discovered that he could have this flying car mode by only half transforming him from robot mode to vehicle mode. And he transforms back and forth between all three modes in 21 steps. So there's Tracks in his robot mode and his vehicle mode. Top of the box, bottom of the box. Now, one thing to note about Tracks X, on top of his transformation joints not lining the panel sections of his vehicle mode together, if you look here at the artwork of Tracks in his robot mode, you might notice there's something off about Trax's head in the artwork here. I got a hold of Kingdom Road Rage thanks to a friend of mine. Finding her and sending her to me. Road Rage is a female character who is mold mates with Tracks, and I showed this with some of my subscribers already. But if you look right here, if you put the artwork of Road Rage and Tracks right next to each other, it's the exact same image. So yeah, even though Tracks was technically released first, somehow the designers working on the artwork for the boxes ended up using Road Rage's head sculpt on the artwork for Kingdom Tracks. So yes, if those of you out there wondering what would Tracks look like if he had Road Rage's head sculpt, the artwork here on the box art here on the side of Kingdom Tracks X's box shows that. So I think that's I don't know if that was done intentionally or if it was an error for the artists working on the box art. I'm leaning on the possibility that it was in fact an error because yeah, I mean, just looking at Trax, the face sculpt on Trax's robot mode, yeah, that's not the same face on there. So I think that's kind of funny that Trax on his box art was given Road Rage's head sculpt. Also, thank you to. So I have to give a shout out to my friend Snoke Spinal Tap. He's the one who found Kingdom Road Rage for me. He also did a video review showing a method of how to fix a track so he transforms into vehicle mode more correctly. So I will leave a link down in the video description to his channel. So I hope you'll subscribe to him and check out his video. He does a lot of custom work and a lot of modifications to his Transformers action figures. So yes, thank you, Snoke Spinal Tap, for being amazing. So without further delay, let's get Trax out of his box and take a close look at the not so hot Transformers figure of the Kingdom line. Now, before I actually unhook Trax from the interior packaging, this is how he came packaged inside the box. For those of you wondering, inside the box, why did it look like Trax was at a different angle? That's because this is how he was packaged. I've seen more recent releases of Trax that have been shelf warming at Target where he's been packaged inside his box perfectly. But yeah, some of the early releases, and that's what this copy of Trax that I own is. It's an early release that I got from Amazon. A few Trax action figures were packaged with some of the joints bent out of shape. For instance, this knee on Trax was bent instead of being straightened out. So yeah, just be aware that if you find a copy of Kingdom Trax that looks like it wasn't packaged correctly, chances are it was most likely an early release figure. Alright, so here is Trax out of the box in his robot mode, and right off the bat, just take a look at this. Yes, Trax's legs are super loose. I mean, I'm doing that with very little effort, and yeah, his legs just want to fall apart. The panels on the side that form the side of his legs don't really want to peg into place. Ace on his shins, and yeah, Trax just look at that right there. That's super loose. My camera isn't doing it any justice. There's loose joints all over the place, and the way Trax's backpack transforms, it wants to unhook itself very easily. And as you just saw right there, Trax's pelvis piece is a floppy mess. And this is another criticism of Trax. His feet are transformed to his legs at the ankle from the side instead of from the top. So it looks like Trax is actually, yeah, I don't even know what you call all the foot shaped like that. But yeah, Trax is just a floppy mess, and out of the package, I have not come across any other figure in the Kingdom line that has joints as loose as Trax does. So yes, pretty much one nice thing about Trax is his robot mode face sculpt. It is pretty accurate to his animation model from the Transformers G1 cartoon series, but other than that, yeah, there's no getting over how loose Trax's joints are. Not even going to go over the articulation because of how loose those joints are. The articulation in the arms, the shoulder joint is supposed to be a swivel joint, but it's actually on a ratchet joint, and that's due to the fact that the wheel ends up hitting the corner of Trax's shoulder joint, so it's actually rendered useless. Swivel joint in the bicep, hinged elbows, and wrist swivels. Actually, no, not wrist swivels. The wrists actually move in and outward. And this is another gripe that collectors have had with Trax. His lower arms are completely hollowed out due to the fact that his fists rotate around and flip in there when he's in vehicle mode. But Hasbro and Takara also wanted to give Trax 5mm pegs, so if you wanted to, you could peg his weapons onto his lower arms for more action-packed fun, and to beef him up with more firepower. So yeah, Trax is nothing but loose joints, hollowed out parts, and the entire backpack section is clear plastic. So yeah, Trax has arguably been given the worst action figure of the Transformers Kingdom line, and he currently holds the title of being the worst Transformers Kingdom figure out of all the deluxe class size Transformers figures. So yeah, Tracks has been arguably the biggest letdown of the Kingdom line. And the main reason why that is because of this. For a size comparison, here is Tracks next to the previous action figure of him that was released. This is the Transformers Reveal the Shield Tracks figure that was released way back in 2011. So yeah, it's literally been a decade since we got a action figure of Tracks from Hasbro and Takara Tomy. And so that's why there's a lot of hype for the Kingdom version of Tracks when his robot mode looked a lot more like his animation model from the G1 cartoon compared to the Reveal the Shield version of Tracks. But as far as which version of Tracks is the better version, even though I haven't yet transformed Kingdom Tracks into his alt mode yet, so far the Reveal the Shield version of Tracks still looks to be the better Tracks action figure, similar to how Kingdom Rhinox is considered a worse figure than the previous Rhinox figure that was released in the Thrilling 30 line. So yeah, all in all, fresh out of the package with the really loose joints, panel sections not wanting to peg in place properly, and the clear plastic parts used on him. Yeah, Trex is right off the bat arguably the worst Transformers Kingdom figure out there. So let's transform him and see if his vehicle mode can do any justice. Alright, and before we get to sports car mode, here is Trex in the flying car mode. You can position the arms however you want. This is the direction they're supposed to be facing according to the instruction sheet, and the photos on the back of Trex's box have them switched around 180 degrees. And the original Generation 1 Trax action figure, I can't remember if it was the designers at Takara Tomy or if it was someone at Hasbro. They got a hold of the Generation 1 Trax action figure and discovered that because of how it transformed, halfway transforming it from robot mode to vehicle mode, if the robot mode arms were left flipped out and untransformed, then Trax could become a triple changer and have a third mode of a flying car. And when that was discovered, Hasbro decided to make it an official gimmick of Trax, and in multiple episodes during the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon's second season, Trax was shown capable of flying due to this flying car mode. So for a quick size comparison, here it is next to Reveal the Shield, Trax's flying car mode. And again, this is why there was a lot of hype for the Kingdom version of Trax, because the Kingdom version of Trax transforms much more similar to the original Generation 1 Trax action figure with the arms folded out to the side, compared to Reveal the Shield Trax, where all you do is just flip out the car doors to become the wings and then put these two rockets on the back. So yeah, there was a lot of hype for Kingdom Trax, and this is one of the problems with Trax that has been criticized by fans and collectors. The front fenders here on Trax don't want to clip in place properly, and they just sit out to the side. And unfortunately, I don't know how you can see right there, they rely on teeny tiny little pegs that are, I believe, only 2 millimeters big to fit in place properly. So I'm going to have to go back and watch my friend Snoke Spinal Tap's video showing how to fix those fenders from staying locked in place properly, I believe. But yeah, one fender on my copy of Kingdom Tracks, this fender over here does sit perfectly in the spot where it's supposed to be, but this one doesn't want to peg in at all. So yeah, again, that's two of the panel sections that have made Tracks considered one of the worst figures of the Kingdom line. So even though the Kingdom version of Tracks does have a G1 accurate looking flying car mode, I still prefer the Reveal the Shield version of Tracks over the new Kingdom figure. So without further delay, let's get this figure transformed into vehicle mode, and I'll share my final thoughts. Alright, and after much difficulty and effort, here is Kingdom Tracks transformed into his vehicle mode, and unfortunately the only place to store his accessory pieces is here on the top back of him, and this has been one of the major gripes that collectors have had with Tracks, and I feel the exact same way on my copy. The front fenders do not want to peg into place at all. And yeah, I spent the last 15 minutes off camera trying to struggle to get these two close together and line up properly. One of them kind of does. It did before much easier when I was had tracks transferred into the flying car mode, but I tried to foolishly straighten out the panel lines even further than they already are, and that just led the front fenders, both of them, to want to refuse to clip into place properly. And here's tracks next to Kingdom tracks next to the Shield version of tracks, and just like in robot mode, comparing these two versions of tracks next to each other, yeah, this is just an example of how Hasbro and Takara have slowly been downsizing Transformers action figures and making them smaller than they were. So yeah, it's incredible to see how a decade ago in 2011, this was an average size deluxe class Transformers figure, and then fast forward 10 years later, and Kingdom Tracks is an average sized deluxe class Transformers figure. So for my final thoughts, unfortunately, I only recommend getting Kingdom Tracks if you absolutely love the character of Tracks, and if you want to go completist on the Kingdom line. But I do not recommend, if you don't have too much emotional attachment to Tracks X, and if there's more other Transformers Kingdom action figures you have a greater interest in getting, then Tracks can be an easy pass. So yeah, Tracks is arguably the worst figure of the Kingdom line, and now that I've transformed him, I completely and fully agree with that statement. So thank you guys all so much for watching the whole video here to the end. And once again, thank you to my friend Snoke Spinal Tap, and until next time, I'm you guys, Transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.